Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of TeacherCast University. My name is Jeff Bradbury from TeacherCast.net. We hope that you enjoy this program. We're going to be learning a little bit about Final Cut 10.1. We're going to be ingesting some footage, and we're going to actually show you how to create an amazing little video for you and your classroom. Of course, all the show notes for this can be found on our website, TeacherCast.net, specifically over on our YouTube page at TeacherCast.net/YouTube. Now, we are looking here at Final Cut Pro. This is version 10.1. Up here, we have our libraries. We'll talk a little bit about that. This section is where our media is. This section is where we're going to be seeing and viewing our project. Over here to our right, we have our inspector. Down here, we have all of our good stuff, our transitions, our music, our generators, our photos, our everything that we need to actually create some really cool media. And down here, we have our timeline. And there's only 4 things that you need to do to create an amazing product. First, you have to ingest your media, which means you bring it into Final Cut. 2, you have to organize your media, which means you're going to take all of that footage that you have and make it into something manageable. 3, you're going to edit your project. You're going to actually take that media that you've created and ingested and organized, and you're going to do your magic with it, and you're going to make it look amazing for your audience. And then lastly, you're going to export it. So we're going to take you through all of the steps on how to do that. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to import our media, and I'm going to do that by clicking here on Import Media. And that brings up our media import. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to go over to our desktop, and we're going to choose some media here. And we're going to choose this clip here, which was a clip that our friends over at the Tech Educator Podcast had an opportunity to interview some people out at the local Q conference that happened recently here. And all you can see here is that I can just skim right across here. And I think I want to take this whole thing, but if I didn't, I can certainly take only a section of it. So you can see here it's 11 minutes and 32 seconds, and I'm going to import the selected by clicking over here on the blue button. And it's going to bring up our media import. Now, up here we have 2 options. We can add this to a library, and right now we have an existing library here, and it has the date on it. Or we can create a new library. So I think we're actually going to start with this, because this is something that you might want to do, is start with a new library. And I'm going to click on here, and right now it says Untitled Library, and that's certainly fine. And we're going to add an event, and this is going to be called the Q video, because it is all video done at the Q conference. Now, everything under here tells us a little bit more of a description of what we need to do. Media storage. We've got a couple different options here. We can copy the files into this library, which in essence means we're going to have one file, one library file from Final Cut that has all of our media into it. Or we can leave it in place. Now, generally, I would suggest that you copy files into this untitled library. Or if you create a library with your name on it, you can have your name there. Transcoding. Now, depending on the type of media that you include, you might wish to transcode your media, but I usually recommend people don't click that button. Essentially, what it does is it creates media that's sometimes 3 to 4 times the size of your original media. You always can change your mind, and we'll talk about reasons why you want to do that a little bit later. Proxy media, same thing. I wouldn't check it unless you're going to be working on a project maybe that you're going to be taking on the road with you, and you didn't want to take these large optimized transcoding files. So for right now, let's leave those 2 unchecked. Down here we have our video. It says import folders as keyword collections. Now, for right now, I'm only importing 1 video, so it doesn't really matter if I check that or not. But if I am using more, let's say that I bring in a host of videos, all that have names and folders attached to them, it'll actually bring in all of those folders and all of those names to it. So this is important if you're doing multiple things. For instance, let's say that I came down here and I wanted to bring in all of these media at the same time. It would actually categorize and organize that for me. Analyze for balance color. I think right now I'm actually going to do that. Now, find people is interesting. This will actually come up and tell me if I have one person in the shot, multiple people in the shot, and it's really interested in doing that. Again, let's say you're outside doing sports shots or family reunions. then is a good time. I don't think I'm going to check it off for this example. Audio, we can analyze and fix audio problems. I'm going to click on this. Separate mono from group stereo, not going to worry about that. And remove silent channels. For right now, not going to worry about that. So I'm going to hit the import button. And what I want you to realize is that when I do that, up here, we're going to have our event created. It's going to create an event over here called Cue Video. And right in the center here, you're going to start to see a circle go. And that is actually the video being automatically rendered on the spot. So here I go. Going to hit the import button now. And we're off. Up here we have our untitled library, and here we have our event for Cue Video. And right here in the center, you can see automatically Final Cut Pro 10.1 is actually going to be rendering that video out at a very, very high rate. It used to be in Final Cut 7, it didn't render automatically, and you actually had to wait for this process to happen. But thanks to Final Cut Pro 10, no more. Now, if I bring my mouse up here, I can actually scrub through and see all the video that I'm looking for. But remember, the first step is ingest, the second step is favorite. So now we're going to move on to our second step, which is organizing all of this media. So the first thing that we want to do in organizing our media is to actually take a look at the media clips that we have. Now, our cameramen were very nice to us, and they only gave us one media file to use, and they actually have it in 3 different chunks. Now, when you take a look at this, we have a little bit of chunk here with our friend Wakka. We have a chunk here with an interview here from Andrew Schwab. And then over here, we have a little bit more Wakka. And then we have an interview with John and some nice people here from Q. But this is one very, very long clip that we want to make sure we can look at. So how do we do that? How do we make sure that this is a little bit manageable? Well, down here, we can take this clip that we have, and instead of looking at all the clips individually, we can actually slide out and adjust the duration that we are looking at. And so right now, we're looking this at 5-minute segments, 2-minute segments, 1-minute segment, and we can actually break this down into half seconds, and we can go really, really crazy with this, but let's back out just a little bit. And there you go. Now you can clearly see we have some defined segments here. Now what we want to do is we want to split this up. So instead of seeing one clip, we actually can see this as several individual clips, and that will help us bring stuff into our editing window. And the first clip that we want to bring in here is this clip right here of our good pal Wakka Patui. And what I want to do is I want to use 2 keys. I want to use the I key and I want to use the O key. I for in, O for out. So I'm going to click right here, right before, notice it's still black. There's nothing going on yet. Sam did a really good job at putting in some transitions for us. So I'm going to hit I. And if you notice, that brings the in point here. And I'm going to skim down here to where there's another black area. And I'm going to hit O for output. And there is our input and our output. Now, I could take this directly down into the timeline and start working on our project, but I want to organize this first. So I'm going to actually click down here on this star, and it says mark the selection as a favorite, or use the keyword or key letter F. And you're going to notice that when I do that, a green bar, see, green star, green bar actually comes up here, and that's denounced now as a favorite. I'm going to do that again. Here is another input. And at the end of this interview, I'm going to call this an output. And I'm going to hit my F again. And there's another favorite. Notice another green bar. Then we have this short segment here, in and out. And I'm going to hit F. And then we'll do one last one. In. And you know what? Just because it's there, we will call that out, and we will have that. Now, what did we just do here? Because if I back this up so that's showing all the clips, you'll notice that I still have one clip, and it has the 3 or 4 green bars. That doesn't help me out very much in organizing this, does it? However, if I click up here into all clips, I can do a couple things. I can actually find all the clips that I favorited, and now you'll see that these are in 4 distinct sections, all with video and all with audio. Now, there's several other things that we can do here to help organize clips, but we're not going to discuss those in this video. However, you can also see if we wanted to reject a clip. Let's just see. If I play this clip here from Wakka.
All right, it's Saturday afternoon, and people are leaving this conference like, well, ticks off a drowning dog or something. Anyway.
So maybe that wasn't our best clip. So I'm actually going to take this, and instead of favoring it, I'm going to come over here to this star right here. I'm going to remove that favorite rating, and notice it deleted it from the favorites. And instead, I'm actually going to go back here to all clips. I'm going to bring this out. And where was that clip again? That clip right here, I'm actually going to stick in the reject bar. Notice here's the red. Sorry, Wakka, but you've been rejected. So if I go over here to rejects, I see Wakka. All right, so I'm going to go back up here to my favorites. And that is, again, that is one way you're going to organize it. Now that we have everything organized, we're actually going to start bringing in clips to our project. Okay, so here we are in the editing phase of our project, and we have our 3 editable clips, and we want to start to build our timeline here. Now, we could do a few things. We could easily drop these down, or we could do them one at a time, and I think that's going to be the way that we want to do this, since they are different and very, very unique in their nature. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm clicked on Wakka here, and I'm going to drag this down here. Actually, you know what? So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to create a new project. So I'm going to click here on our Q video event. I'm going to right click and I'm going to click on new project. And what am I going to call this? I'm going to call this Tech Educator Q promo video. And where am I going to put it? I'm going to want to put it in the Q video. Now, in reality, I can use this and I can put this wherever I want. And that's the neat part about these libraries, is you can move that media and you can move those projects wherever you need to. And it doesn't really hurt anything. It doesn't really matter to anything. So here we have our first project and we have our 3 clips. And so the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to click on Wakka, and I'm going to want to drag him down here into the timeline. Now, you'll notice that no matter where I put it, it wants to automatically throw it all the way to the left, because Final Cut Pro 10 has something called a magnetic timeline. Now, what is a magnetic timeline? That actually means that it's going to automatically clip. Watch this. I'm going to release the mouse button. Everything is going to clip over here to the left. And that's really, really important when you're dealing with projects. Now, let's just listen to what Wakka has to say, because we want to really take the cues from the video here.
This is Wakka for the Tech Educator Podcast, bringing you the news from Q. We're going to talk about some of the things we learned at the conference, talk to some of the people at the conference, and share some important news about Q. My co-host, John Samuelson, and I have been scouring this conference, trying to get as much information and as many pictures with people as possible. You won't believe some of the selfies we took.
So really, really good clip there from Wakka. If you notice, this is a really, really small screen. We have a little bit of audio underneath, and we have a little bit of picture. But I want to make that bigger. So all the way down here, I'm going to go to this little button that people usually don't see. It says change the appearance. And if I click on that, I have a few options. I can go audio only. Notice how that changed. I can do little video and big audio. I can do basically 50-50. I can do lots of video, little audio, only video, or I can just do the audio clip only here. So tell you what, I'm actually going to click on little audio, big video, but I'm actually going to take the clip height very, very big, just so I can see that cute, fuzzy little person here. So I think I'm good for that. Now, again, if you notice, that video was actually really, really loud, and you'll notice here on the audio, these yellow peaks are showing that it's clipping a little bit, and we need to fix the audio, but we will actually do that later. I actually take care of audio at the end of all of these projects here. So audio comes last, video comes first. At least that's the way I do things. Now, Wakka talked about all of the pictures and the selfies that he took, and he did take a lot out in Q, but I don't have any of that media here. I want to add some of those Wakka selfies. So I'm going to come up here to Q video. I'm going to go to import media. And I'm going to do this really, really quickly. I'm going to take all of these pictures that Wakka took, and I'm going to import them just like so. Hit import selected. I'm going to put them in my existing. I'm going to copy folders too. And I'm going to not, I think I'm going to have everything here. Obviously, I don't need to fix audio problems, so I'm going to hit import. Now, you'll notice that when we imported those pictures, nothing is actually showing up here in our workstation, and that's because we are still under favorites. Now, if I come up here to favorites and I click on all clips, there you'll see we have a ton of fun that Wakka had out at Q. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to pick some of these pictures out. Here is a good one of Wakka, and we're going to drop that down into here, and we're going to take this, and we're going to drop this down into here. And we're going to take this picture here. We're going to drop this down here. But we don't have to necessarily do it that way. We can make this a little bit easier. For instance, if I click on here and I go down to this button here, you'll actually see that we can put these things at the end. So I'm going to click on E. I'm going to click on this one. I'll hit E. This big one here, I'll hit E. And this one's one of my absolute favorite. This is Sam and Wakka and Craig Yen. We'll hit E here, and then we'll end with this great one of Sam Wakka and LeVar Burton. So if I play those, and I'm going to put my playhead. So when I play those and I put my playhead right here, I'm going to hit the space bar to play. You'll notice that it goes for a set time. I believe it's automatically to set for 4 seconds, and then it changes pictures. Now, again, not much interesting going on here, but we will certainly make that happen. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to come back to our favorites because we want to add more video. And so let's go back into our favorites, and we're going to add this clip here of Wakka talking to and we're going to add this clip here by clicking on E. There it is at the end. And we're going to then click on this clip here, and we're going to put that one also at the end, just like so. And you'll see that our timeline, if I come down here and I hit the minus button, our timeline here shows of raw footage about 11 minutes and 42 seconds, in fact. So what do we want to do now? Well, from here on out, I actually start looking at making magic with this. First things first that we want to do is we want to play with the audio. Now is the time where I start to play with the audio, because the more that I listen to this, I'm going to want to make sure that the audio sounds right. So if I look here at these audio levels, you'll see everything right now is set to 0 decibels. I can actually click and drag this all the way down and all the way up. But I want to go down just so that way these yellow peaks don't happen. So it's anywhere between -4, -6. So I'm going to keep that one at a -5, and we're going to bring this down to -4, -5. So that way when you listen to this, there's not a major problem.
And so many conversations that begin here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is first things first. Now, just a couple tricks to see what we can do here. We want to go through and we want to put on some neat stuff with these pictures. Let's drag all the way to the beginning here. And we're going to want to, let's really, really dive into this and see if we can zoom out. And we're going to take a look at this first picture here. And as you can see, it is I'll put the scrubber head here. It is a square picture. It's got these black lines. We don't really want to do that. We want to do something interesting with it. So we're going to click right here on our button. It's going to make a box. We're going to click on the little magic arrow. We're going to go into crop. And we're also then going to go into the Ken Burns effect. And that brings up 2 little boxes. One says start, one says end. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with a big picture like this. We can move this box around. And let's back out through there. Here's our end. And what if we shrunk this end down very, very nice, and we end right around there? So that's where Wakka is. We're going to hit done. And when we go back, you'll notice that these black bars are not there. But when we scrub through it, we actually have this really, really neat Ken Burns effect that can zoom in and zoom out. We're going to try it one more time on a picture. Oh, here's a picture here. And we're going to start with this. We're going to hit the arrow. We're going to go to crop. And, you know, before we hit crop, we can, of course, take this. Let's click on here. We can actually take this picture here and we can make it bigger. We can make it smaller. We can do an awful lot of things with it. Of course, if we wanted to distort the picture, we can certainly do so. Kind of looks like they're the bad guys in Superman, I guess. We can send them out there. But again, let's just hit crop. And, you know, if we wanted to trim it up a little bit, we can certainly do that. But no real need to do that when you're doing the Ken Burns effect. We can actually do something to that effect. Now let's take the starting point, and we'll bring the starting point down here. And when I hit done, we actually can play this clip here. And there we go. We dive right into Mr. Sam Patterson. So I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to finish off with the Ken Burns effects. And when we're going to come back, we're going to talk a little bit about cutting and editing. Okay, so I've gone through and I've actually gone to each of these pictures, and as I scrub through here, you can see how I've done some of them as Ken Burns effects, some of them how I just have stills. Now, we're not quite done with those yet, but I want to really get into this whole editing thing and do so very, very fast and very, very quickly for you. Now, at the beginning of this, it really just starts off with this black, and then boom, suddenly Wakka is here. So I want to do something really, really special for that. So I actually am going to over here on my tool belt here, I just call this the tool belt. I'm not really sure what the main name is, but I'm actually going to click on generators. And under generators, I'm going to see motion master templates. And I actually have this web video, which is really neat. If I hit the plus button here, I'm going to play it. It's really, really neat. I use it a lot for my intros. I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to drag it right here, and I'm going to hover it over top of everything. And you'll see that when I hover it to the side, everything shifts down. Again, remember that magnetic template. Now, I actually have this set up. If I hit the plus button, it actually comes up with youraddresshere.com. And it's a really, really neat thing. This is actually a free plugin that you can find over at Motion Master Templates. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click right here and going to click on First Test. And I'm going to say Wakka goes to Q, and I will say here, learn how much fun it was to be at Q14. Now, when I go here a little bit quicker, you'll see that this video pops up and this video pops up. Now, anything that you see with this down arrow is called a placeholder. And we are going to actually take these placeholders here and we are going to put some video in. So we need some video. I'm going to come back over here to Wakka, where I have a neat little in and output. I'm going to just drag that in and output right over top of here. And I'm going to go right into this drop zone up here on the right. And I'm going to drop that down into that drop zone. And so when I do that, you'll see here it's going to come up with this youraddresshere.com. And there is my Wakka Batui. Now, I don't necessarily like that. Let's see if we can find another one. So I'm just going to make an output here, and I'm going to make an in point here, and I'm actually going to try that one more time. And I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to click on that, and we're going to try that again. Now, really, really quickly, I'm going to go to this youraddress.com here, and instead of your address, we're actually going to call that patue.org. Patui.org. I certainly recommend that you check that out. Let's play this through. There's Wakka. And now we need a video for inside of there. So I'm going to create an even larger output here and an input here. And when I click on this, I can actually go into this drop zone right here. And there's a lot that we can talk about with plugins such as this, but here we go with this. So let's play this from the beginning. And so you can see how we can customize an awful lot of this, and we're going to customize this even more for the final. So then from there, we want to actually put some transitions in. So I'm going to click over here on our transitions, And you know what? Let's do if I just mouse over this, you can see this is a little circle transition. Here is a clock transition. So I think we're going to try this circle. I'm just going to pull this over and I'm going to stick it right in here. And then between this here, see this just kind of, let's listen to this.
Some of the selfies we took.
And then he just kind of drops off into nothing. So I'm actually going to take out my blade, my B for blade. I'll cut that. And then right here, I'm going to hit the P button. I'm going to hit the delete button. I'm going to get rid of that. And then, you know what? Right here, I like this kind of clone spin. I'm just going to take this transition and put it right here as well. So when I back this up a little bit, we have Wakka talking.
Any pictures with people as possible. You won't believe some of the selfies we took.
And then it has these neat little transitions in there. So I'm going to go through and add some different transitions as we go after we're finished with this recording to make the final edit here. Now, the next one here is we have this picture of Sam and Wakka and LeVar going into this Andrew Schwab wonderful interview here. But again, we have this black bar here, and then it kind of pops up. So again, B for blade, going to click on that. P for pointer, going to cut that out right there. And you know what? Maybe we bring this type of transition in here. So we have a lot of great stuff going on. And so the next thing that we want to worry about in doing all this is putting music to it. Now, if we click on music here, we actually have access to all of our iTunes libraries. And it'll load all of the music for you. And let's just say for right now, we're going to pick this one here. I know it's short, but we're just going to show you how to use it. We're going to take this and we're going to bring it right into here. And music is usually left underneath. So when I play this, thinking about it a little bit. And that is how easy it is to actually put music onto your program. So there's a lot of neat things that we can do with that as well. Now, all the way at the end, we have this interview here, and then we have this interview here. And if you notice, there's no title here for this one. It just kind of jumps right into another Wakka title. Over here, we were set up with this neat little lower third, if you will, of Andrew, but there's not much here. And we want to know that this is our friend, John Samuelson. So how do we do that? We're going to click over here on the text, and we have a whole bunch of text titles. We have lower thirds, which we can, if we wanted to, add it here at the bottom. We can have them come in from the side. We can make some formal ones. We can actually, I'll show you how easy this is. I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger for us. And let's see where John actually comes in. Here is John right here. I'm going to bring this over. Going to make this just a little bit wider. It's a little bit too wide, but that's okay. So if I click on here and click on this, we actually can bring up our text tool over here where we have all of our words, and we can say John Samuelson, and then down here we can have at iPad Sammy. So you can easily make your lower thirds, you can put your music to it, you can do really whatever you want to do. So there it is, a brief overview of the third stage of making a video in Final Cut Pro 10. We've ingested our movies, we edited everything out, We've ingested our movies, we've organized our clips, we've edited everything out, and now we're ready for that fourth stage, which is exporting, actually taking this movie and making something of it. And that's very, very simple to do. I'm actually going to show you two ways of doing it. The first way is to come all the way over here to the right. You have this little share menu, and when you pop it up, we can actually see that we can share it to several different sources. If we want, we can take our project directly to YouTube or Vimeo. We can even take it out to Facebook if you want. We can export this directly as a master file, which is a really, really large file format. You may or may not want to do that. Or we can take this into Apple 720p or Apple 1080p. Of course, if we wanted to, we could actually lower the resolution really, really low, depending on how long the clip is, and actually email it to ourselves if we want to. So we're going to click here that we want to export it as an Apple device 720. And that's going to bring up here our exporting. We're going to actually name it here as Tech Educator Q promo video because that's what we have the project named. We are going to say, here's the creator. We're going to tag it. And we're going to put some tags on this. Now you'll see this right here is a 1280 by 720 resolution at 30 frames per second. We have this all done in stereo. It's right now 11 minutes and 54 seconds, and it's going to be approximately 625 megabytes. And if we want, we can, of course, change where these things go. If it's going to be remastered, if it's going to be published, what video codec do we want, what's our resolution. Of course, if we drop that, now that changes everything. Now, if we change the resolution, now this is telling us what type of devices this actually can play on. So this is really, really important that you check out some of these things. I'm going to bring it back here, and you'll see there's a lot more stuff going on. If I wanted to include chapter markers, let's say I was making this out for DVDs, you certainly can. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit next. I'm not going to do that right now, and then it's going to render out. One more way of actually doing this, one way that I recommend, if you are also a user of the app called Compressor, you can actually take your timeline here and go down to File and Send to Compressor. And when I do that, it's actually going to open up Apple Compressor. Okay, and here we are. We've opened up Apple Compressor automatically by hitting that Export button. And over here on the left side of Compressor, we have all of the video settings. We can add it to our library. We can publish it to YouTube. Very, very similar to what we just did in Final Cut. However, the neat part about Compressor is that you can do multiple activities. So let's say that I want it to output to MP3, meaning I want it just to take the audio out of that. I can bring that in here. And I want it to make it into an Apple ProRes 422, which really just means a very high quality file. I can certainly do that. I can bring that over here. And at the same time, I want to make a very small version of this, only at 480 resolution, because let's say I wanted to email it to Wakka for him to see before I go ahead and I publish it on the Tech Educator show here. So we have all these different things. All we have to do at this point is hit Start Batch. It'll automatically export, and there you go. So that is a really brief overview. There's a lot more buttons here that we have yet to publish and yet to push here, and we hardly even touched on the inspector. Maybe we'll do that in another video, but that is the easy way to use Final Cut Pro 10 in your classroom. My name is Jeff Bradbury from TeacherCast.net. Please follow us on Twitter at TeacherCast and check out all of our live shows each and every week. TechEducatorPodcast.com is Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. Thank you so much and enjoy.